Around 9 months ago, when I first started my fitness journey, I was doing everything that you can imagine completely wrong. I was doing like random workouts from the internet. I had no idea anymore what to eat because everyone tells you different things that are good for you. And it was more frustration than progress. But then I finally lost 30 pounds and saw my abs for the first time in my life. And in today's video, I want to share with you what I personally would do differently if I had the chance to start all over again. I was on the plant-based diet for over a decade of my life. I decided that I had to quit that form of eating because I was shaking all the time and I was generally feeling really weak. And in the moment I tried to do a single push-up, I already felt like I was breaking apart and I was not able to do it. That was how weak I was. That was my starting point. And I was kind of getting into the carnivore lifestyle in that moment, eating only meat, trying to rebuild my strength. At the beginning it did work really good until I kind of burned out from the diet. That's my first mistake, that I jumped from something very restrictive like the plant-based diet into the next diet, which was kind of restrictive. I couldn't hold the new diet for very long, so I ended up binge eating ice cream, and it was kind of ridiculous because I gained so much weight back. It was like this yo-yo diet effect where you first lose a lot of weight, then you do everything wrong again and you go way past the weight that you had before. And that was basically me at the end of 2024, where I was at the highest body weight that I ever had in my entire life. So that was the breaking point where I decided, that was not so great. You jumped the diet from diet number 1 that was super hyped on the internet to diet number 2, basically repeating the same thing, just yo-yo dieting and not really thinking about what personally for me would have been better. So what I needed to change in 2025 when I first started my fitness journey for real was basically rethinking my strategy of dieting. In the moment you have a very restrictive diet, it will backfire on you and you are not going to have the progress or those results that everyone tries to promise you, because ultimately the one diet that works for me basically doesn't work for you. And if you have a really good diet that works for you, then maybe it does not work for me, because you cannot generalize any kind of diet. That was the first mistake that I would basically change if I could go back in time and restart from scratch. I would not find the next diet that is trending at the moment, but rather than that, what I would do is figure it out myself. I would make my own diet plan. I would find foods that I really like and that I know that my body can actually handle, and that is also beneficial towards my goal. So if my goal would be kind of training, exercising and building some muscles, then obviously my food needs to have a lot more protein. And if my goal is to lose weight, then I will need to be in a caloric deficit. And if I wanted to gain weight or make a bulking phase, then obviously I need to eat a little bit more. And that was the next mistake that I did. It was kind of ridiculous to think that I can eat whatever I wanted without consequences. So basically now I started tracking calories and not guess anymore what I was eating. And I was shocked at the beginning when I first started calculating calories, how much calories actually is inside of certain foods. I did always eat like oatmeals with a lot of dates inside and bananas. And once I calculated that, it kind of came to my senses that that was way too many calories and I kind of went overboard. Even if the portion didn't look that much, it was quite insane to me. And once I figured out the actual calories that I needed, it was a little bit easier to track the calories and to basically just eat whatever was needed so that I could personally always lose weight. There was these calculators online which you can use for free. I will link one down in the description below so you don't need to search for one. Basically what I was doing is figure out my maintenance calories, and then when I had my maintenance calories, the next biggest mistake that I did, because I didn't know better, was cutting down my food way too much and being in a way too high caloric deficit. Usually when you are starting your fitness journey and you want to lose weight, then the first thing that everyone will tell you is that you need to eat less calories than you're actually burning throughout the day, so that you're basically losing your weight or body fat. That's what we want to lose. And then basically what you will do as a total bloody beginner, what I was doing too, is just cut them down by 500, 600 calories, maybe even more than that. Go on the next crash diet and lose as much weight as possible. That was the biggest mistake ever, because my body kind of shut down and I didn't really have strength anymore and I couldn't do the exercises anymore. And I needed to kind of fix that. And the way I did it was by incorporating walking. Because usually what you will do is you just need to be in a caloric deficit high enough to lose weight. And you can achieve that in two ways. You can either eat a lot less food, or you can increase your daily amount of calories that your body burns. And that is basically just exercising a little bit more. And the easiest exercise that I figured that you can implement is just walking. There's also exercises like running and more this high intensity things, but they are way harder to stick with. So I made it just the goal of 10,000 steps every single day to increase my daily calorie need by around 300 calories. So I could now increase my food again and not starve my body. And now that I was eating a lot more again because I had my caloric deficit reached with just walking, it was way more effective to exercise again. And my muscles started to finally grow. I was very skinny fat. I had literally no muscle mass on my body. Like I said before, I was able to do like one push-up and that was already way too much for me. That was how weak I was. And now that I incorporated a lot more food and I train way more effective, I grow a little bit of muscle mass already. I'm very proud of that. So if I could start from scratch, then the first thing that I would do now is to not cut my food way too much and basically just increase the amount of cardio training that I'm doing. But I would not necessarily go running and stuff. I would do the easy things that I can personally stick to for the rest of my life. And one of them is walking. And every 10,000 steps will increase your caloric daily need for like 300 calories. And that means you can eat a lot more. And because you are eating more, you're not starving. And because you are not starving all the time, the diet part gets way easier in your fitness journey. And because you are eating more, also you will have a lot more energy. And I wish somebody would have told me at the beginning that there is the two ways of actually getting into a caloric deficit, so that I would not have made this mistake to basically crash diet again after I was just trying to get a lot healthier. Because in the long run, when you are cutting calories too much, that is going to drive you insane. You are going to feel weak all the time and basically deprived of food, and that is not good. I would not recommend that. My name is Dennis and I create simple, honest fitness content. So if you're also on your way to a healthier lifestyle, make sure to hit that subscribe button to not miss out on future videos just like this one. One of the mistakes, if not the biggest mistake, was to go online and take like one of those random workout plans that you can find. This one specifically promised you to get abs and super shredded in like 4 weeks. And now thinking back, that was like super ridiculous that they promised you something like that, because results are not coming that fast, and even less if you are super skinny weak like I used to be. So basically I followed the exercises and I tried my best to really do what they told you to do. At the end of the day, what happened to me was that I was not able to move for 2 weeks straight. I couldn't barely move my arms anymore. Walking was a huge problem because this training was so hard for me as a beginner that it kind of backfired on me. I couldn't recover from that, and it was basically just killing my progress for the next entire 2 weeks because I was not able to exercise. And after this failure with the workout plan, I decided I had to change something. And then I found a workout method where you are basically training at your failure point and you're doing only like 5 to 10 minutes workouts instead of this crazy 90 minutes workout. And then this training method was basically giving me the same results, but without being so fatigued in the long run. And if I could go back now and start from scratch, then basically I would ignore all of the fitness advice that is there on the internet, every single workout plan that you can find, because most of the time when you are a complete beginner, these workout plans are definitely not suited for you and you will not be able to follow along, and then it will be way too harsh on your body. So what I would do is start a little bit slower. And also don't use like these workout plans where you need to do hundreds of reps, because that's complete overkill and definitely not necessary. What I would do now is go and take the training method that I'm showing in a different video, where you are basically training from failure. And then when you have the failure point, then you're gonna just do some exercises, let's say like 2-3 reps in a day, and that will give you the same exact results, if not even better results, because your recovery will be way better training like this, because you're not overusing your muscles, but you are still breaking the muscle fibers, just way more effective, if that makes sense. So basically that would be what I would change. Don't go overboard. Don't just take any workout routine. Make your own plan, listen to your own body. Only you know how you should train basically. If something hurts you when you are doing push-ups and your shoulders are not on the strength level yet needed, then don't follow those crazy workout plans. You're gonna hurt yourself, you're gonna burn out faster than you can imagine, and then basically you're just going to stop. So make it sustainable for yourself. All of these workout routines always just tell you do 50 reps, do 100 reps, and you count in your head, or maybe you type it down how many reps you did, but you kind of don't really focus on form. And in my opinion, the form of a push-up is always better than doing 20 reps. So basically you need to not focus on the numbers, but you need to focus on the progress in your form. That is one of the biggest mistakes I did at the beginning. And if I could go back, I would only ever check my progress in my form. So the better the form is of any of the exercises that you are doing, and you can do like 5 reps with the perfect form compared to 20 reps but with a really bad form, then that is really huge progress, and that's what you should measure. I hope I can explain here what I mean. So basically just don't stick to the number and don't make it like ego lifting or whatever. Don't do like a half push-up, half pull-up. Just do the exercise with a really good form, even if that means that you can do only 1 rep. And once you have done this 1 rep with perfect form, it is probably worth more than just 5 with non-perfect form. And once you are at the level where you are already fatigued so that you cannot hold a perfect form anymore, do the negatives, but also always try to keep a really good form in the negative movement. And then once you cannot even do the negative movement anymore, you just go to the lower progression of the exercise. In an example of the push-up, if you cannot do a proper form anymore, then basically just go to your knees and do the push-ups on your knees. But also again, try to have a really good form. And then that's the better progress that you can actually focus on, because the number of reps doesn't really matter if your form is sacrificed in the long run. So this is also another one of these really big mistakes that I did, because everyone just tells you, okay, you need to do 10 pull-ups to be a man. That is complete stupid. You don't need to do 10 pull-ups to be a man. You need to do 10 proper pull-ups to get strong. So basically just forget about all of this ego lifting. That's my point here. I was getting a little bit off topic there. But the point is, the amount of reps you can do is not necessarily in balance with the amount of muscles that you will grow, because your progress will be way faster when you're not doing this ego lifting and you're focusing on the perfect form. And you can not only track your progress in your exercises, but also in your weight loss. And there was one big mistake that I did at the beginning, and if I could go back, I would do it completely different now. I weigh myself every single day, and when the weight was going down, I was super happy about it. I was super excited. But in the moment I had a day where my scale weight went up, I was really disappointed, and I thought that my diet is failing just because I had like a couple pounds more from one day to the other one, even though the last 1 week or 2 weeks I was losing in total like 4 pounds, for example. And if I could go back now and change my mindset about it and do it a little different, I would go onto the scale without any second thoughts, without being positive or negative about it, because maybe you were just eating a little bit too much salt and you were like getting a lot of water weight into your body, or maybe you did train a lot and you built some muscles and your weight is stagnating. So basically what I changed is to just type down the number but without judging it, and then I would look onto the numbers like 1 week later and take the average of the week. And if my average is going downhill and I lose weight throughout the entire week, then I know that I'm in the correct direction of my calorie deficit. And if the number is somehow stagnating, but I do exercise a lot, but I got also stronger doing the exercises, then that means I'm building muscles. And once my number is going up, but I'm kind of still the same strong in the exercises, then I know something's failing and I need to maybe cut my food a tiny bit, get like more caloric deficit, or increase my cardio training. So if I could go back and change something, it would be my mentality towards the number on the scale, because you will get a real bad relationship with the scale or with the number on it, because you basically just judge it, and then you will maybe jeopardize your entire diet because you think that you are not in a high enough caloric deficit because your number on the scale is not going down fast enough. And that is a real big mistake that I would basically not do anymore if I could start over again, because then that would mean you are not decreasing your calories too much anymore. You will not have these problems of basically starving yourself to be in a crash diet so that your metabolism shuts down. You will from the beginning just have it stable as a stable fat loss journey, which you can basically stick to for a very long time and make it sustainable, rather than just have the next crash diet. When I first started out exercising, the next super big mistake that I was doing that I would change if I could go back is basically not giving my body the rest that he needed. My problem was that I always thought I need to exercise as much as possible every single day, every muscle group, and then basically have the most progress possible. But that led me to overtraining, and that was really bad in my case because I was not able to move anymore. So what I had to relearn is that sometimes doing less has more impact on your body. Let me explain that really quickly. If you, for example, train super intense but only twice a week, then that is way better than training with the wrong exercises but every single day, because we want to actually build strength and muscles, and that means the only thing we need to do in order to basically grow muscles is to break our muscle fibers, and you can do that with just a single exercise but hard enough in one single session, basically in 5 to 10 minutes. And for that, you do not need to overtrain 5 to 7 times a week for 90 minutes. So if I could go back, then I would tell myself to basically give my body a lot more recovery time in between my actual exercises so that I will not have the overtrain effect, but still the same amount of muscle growth, if that makes sense. So the point is, you can actually hinder your progress as a beginner by overtraining, and recovery is very important. If you already started your fitness journey and you have any tips and tricks that helped you in the beginning, it would be super awesome if you can share it with everyone down in the comments below. And if this video was helpful to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button to not miss out on future content exactly like this one. And if you want to know how to build strength so fast it feels like cheating, you can go and watch this video next. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in the next one.